today I am very, very, very honored to have my friend and global executive coach, Sarah Farmer, here with me in person in the studio.
Hello.
Hello.
I am so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
You're more than welcome. It is so special to have you here. Thank you so much for traveling in.
Yeah, I feel like I'm probably a little older than some of the viewers, but if anyone ever watched the Annika Rice challenges, I felt like I was on one of those this morning. It's like, stop the clock, except for I didn't have a onesie on and I didn't have a helicopter. Otherwise, just the same.
Yeah, so literally you was feeling like she used to wear the shell suit, didn't she?
That's it, yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's okay. Oh, he just turning us up a little bit, making us a bit louder. Yeah, she used to wear the shell suit, so I remember that, and have a helicopter.
Yeah, and everywhere she went, she was like, "Oh, stop the clock!" And that's exactly what my life was like this morning.
And speaking about stop the clock, at the moment, well, especially we went through a time, didn't we, recently, where the clock did stop.
Oh yeah,
everything during the pandemic was really, really quiet, and we had all of this retrospective time to be still. And now we're doing the Annika Rice again.
Yeah, and it's weird because I haven't been into London for ages, well, not for something to do with work anyway. And you forget everything, like how long it takes, where you're going to park, and yeah, everything just slightly threw me. It was like I'd never done this before. So, but anyway, very, very, I made it. I'm in East London.
You are. You're an East London girl today.
Yeah, and can't wait to chat with you. And
so tell us a little bit about you and what you do. We've spoken before a little bit about your backstory. Today we are going to be speaking. The overarching title for today is about imposter syndrome and self-limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
It is It was International Women's Day on the 8th. It is International Women's Day this month, but of course, we extend ourselves to our male audience as well.
Yeah.
That's our focus today. But it'd be really great to just tell our audience a little bit about Sarah.
Okay, so what I do at the moment is, you've already described me as a global executive coach. Basically, what that means, I work with individuals and I work with teams as well to help them deliver the best results they can deliver by improving their confidence, which is the mindset piece. And then
a little bit
forward. I've got to get forward. I've been told to come in. Can you hear me now?
I can. Just a bit closer to the mic. Yeah.
So working on the mindset, so improve confidence, and then also working on the skills from a leadership point of view, so they can improve their ability to lead more effectively, and then also on business results as well. So I focus on all those three things. And I've been doing that for coming up to 7 years now. I started my own business about 7 years ago. And I would say it's probably only in the last, I think thanks to the pandemic, I've really, really come into my own, where I feel I'm in a space now doing what I love really confidently, not egotistically at all. I've still got a real healthy amount of, oh my goodness, what have I done? Especially when I say I'm going to do things like this, but I do it anyway. And that's what I help my clients do is it's almost feel the fear and do it anyway. And a lot of people are held back by that. So yeah, that's what I do at the moment. And it's brilliant.
And what was your zest and inspiration for wanting to, support other people through that process and become a coach?
It's funny. I think it started a really, really long time ago. My mom was a psychologist, and I don't know if she knows this, but I used to sit outside her door when she was working from home, and all her clients came to the house. And I was fascinated by everything. And I would go in, and everything was obviously handwritten then. And I'd go in and I read about they're all called S. S was for subject. And I'd read all these things thinking, oh my God, why are they so sad? And why are they doing this? And it just piqued my interest. And I obviously learned a lot from listening to her at the door. Now, coaching and counselling are the same but different. One focuses on looking at things in the past and staying there and unraveling them. What I do is I notice them, but then I move on and we look at future focused stuff. But that's where it all started. And then one of my first jobs was a medical rep, and I ended up going into a training role where I felt like I'd just landed in my dream life. And I loved teaching, but I loved helping people. And then as time evolved and I did a few other jobs, I realized this is where I want to be. And in the final, I call it proper job, where I was employed by a company, I was a training manager for an oil and gas company. And I was helping the oil and gas community, learn skills, but I couldn't do it enough in the way that I wanted to. So I stepped out and set up my own business, and here I am today, and I've never, ever looked back.
I know. And, you know, we met through the Girls Club, through our friend Joanne Webb, during the time of lockdown, where a lot of people were thinking, you know, they was at home, was all quite immobile. We, you know, we're doing our best to stay connected to people. And, you know, we had the fantastic opportunity to meet through a great platform as well, didn't we?
Absolutely. So, yeah, Joanne, I don't know if she's listening today or if she'll listen soon, but yeah, thanks to Joanne Webb, I met so many amazing people, you being one of them. And actually, that's really helped grow my confidence, because there's something about finding your tribe, isn't there? About finding your people. And when we talk about imposter syndrome, I know mine came back from when I was a very small, you know, started when I was a very small child, being different. Girls generally are nastier to each other than boys. I mean, boys just tend to punch each other and move on and forget about it, but girls can be really vicious.
Yeah.
And so finding a tribe of people at this age that actually care for you, support you, and genuinely mean it and are not out to get you, that changed a lot. That changed everything. And that was all thanks to Joanne putting together the Girls Club from nothing. She just had an idea because she was out of work at the time, and it's great. I think it's about 800 people on it.
Yeah, 750, 800 people. So and it's growing, and you know we've the world's our oyster really to see what happens with that. And I'd like to dig a little bit deeper into what you were saying with regard to your experience and feeling very different. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, we had a conversation, didn't we, a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about diversity, equity, inclusion, and you were explaining, you know, as a woman of colour, how it feels. And I got a little bit tetchy, going, you don't know how it feels to be like me, because you might look and go, all right, female, blonde, not real, obviously, but, you know, white.
Yes.
But it's not always easy to be that either.
Yeah.
So when I was 7, and this is where from my counselling days, I've looked back, and I think this is where it started for me. When I was 7 years old, I went to a very nice private school for nice girls, but they let me in anyway. Oh, was that a self-limiting belief? But I went, and it was a 99% Christian faith school, and I was Jewish.
Right.
Well, I suppose I still am Jewish, but I don't follow the faith. I was Jewish then, and I did follow it. And one of the very first things that happened that made me realise that being different wasn't good was the 10 or 12 Jews in the school would get segregated, and that's how it felt to me. In the morning before assembly, we'd go into a little room where we did Jewish type stuff. And then halfway through assembly, when everyone was allowed to be together, we would be paraded back in to the main room. Everyone would turn and stare at you, and you'd sit in your own little group.
Wow.
And my little 7-year-old brain went, being different is not nice. I don't like this. So you get called names.
Yeah.
You get left out. This made me quite angry even at 7. And I know that's when the switch happened.
Right.
Which made having relationships with people difficult, because I always felt like I got a chip on my shoulder.
Did you feel like you had to conform in some way to be more like them? Was there that othering for you?
I went the other way, I think, and that I wish I had. I wish I'd tried to conform, but I knew I couldn't, because one, I'm very expressive and very outgoing anyway, so I was quite loud.
Right.
I was never going to be a wallflower that could just blend in. I always asked questions why, and if it didn't feel right, my response, because of my expressive nature, was to get angry.
Right.
And that pushes people away as well. So I found it really hard to make friends, really hard. And that went through into secondary school. I didn't do myself any favors. I look back now and I just, if I could give myself a slap, I would.
Yeah, but I mean, that's your younger self not having any control. You know, there should have been adults at that school that would have protected you from that. So of course you was putting those walls up to protect yourself. You didn't know any different. You don't know what you don't know, right?
You don't know what you don't know. And this is where people often say to me, where does imposter syndrome come from? Where does it start? And it's in this real deep space, probably from years ago. Now, some people get it as a result of a trauma in later life. You know, if you think about maybe someone who's gone into an abusive relationship. They never ever knew it was going to happen.
That's right.
And this will then create some feelings of imposter syndrome or self-limiting beliefs as a result. Not for everybody, but for some. But usually there's a link to what happened before. But yes, the teachers could have picked it up. To be honest, the teachers were pretty anti-Jew, even at the secondary school. And one of the very last things I remember my headmaster said to me, Mr. Walker, was, "You will go nowhere. Nothing will come of you." That was his lasting, his last
remarks
to me before I left. And I believe that. So I went into college and I pretty much messed up there. But then I managed to get a degree in applied chemistry. I say it like it was who knew? And people will say to me when I say I've got a degree in applied chemistry, here's bias for you. They'll go, "What, you?
Yeah.
Why not me?"
Yeah. So we have biased already where, you went to a school and then you were segregated. And then you have biased where the odds were against you. They told you that you won't do well. You still went on and done well in your own with something that you enjoyed. And then there was a bias there because people that normally look like you don't come out of those biochemical or chemical degrees.
I don't know what they're expecting. Maybe glasses and a lab coat, but
exactly,
that was just for.
And that's what breaking the bias is all about, isn't it? This month. So it's so interesting to hear your story. And I'm thinking about, I was churning in my mind about my childhood, and I was thinking, where sort of like my imposter syndromes come from. And it's quite ironic actually that I'm a radio presenter because there was a time where if I had to speak, I used to freeze.
And now look at you.
And now look at me.
That would be really bad for radio, wouldn't it?
I don't think I've been doing this job very well at all. But I pushed through all of that when I got into business and entrepreneurship, and I had a fantastic network and, of mentors and different people around me, and great people that done the reverse of what the headmaster done and said, "You can do it." And I think that these teachers and people in schools don't realize the impact that they actually have when they sow those seeds into young people. There was nobody at school that sort of said, "Louise, you can do anything." I always had like innate ambition, but I'm just thinking about where my imposter syndromes come from, because I certainly did have them where I felt like, I would freeze and I couldn't speak in a room.
So when you were doing that, do you remember what made you freeze? Was there anything in particular that stopped you? Because there's a feeling associated with the freeze.
Yeah.
I was talking to a lovely lady yesterday who'd gone into an interview, really accomplished lady, and she'd got into the interview and frozen, and we were digging down into, well, what actually caused the freeze? And it wasn't someone had asked a particular question that threw her. Deep down, it was, I've been made redundant. Am I good enough? Are they going to find out that I shouldn't be a leader of XYZ? So there's all these things going on. But when it happened to you, it's a long time ago now, but do you remember anything that would have triggered you?
I remember thinking, I know what I want to say, but when it comes out, it's going to be a and that's because I think your mind is going quicker.
It's often associated with thinking that you've got to prove yourself.
Yes.
Maybe because you felt different,
yes.
Even though you've got all these. And this is the other thing. I could tell all of my clients, "You're fine. You're wonderful." It doesn't change anything, because the feelings that we've had associated with the life that we've grown up in creates these beliefs that aren't true. Simply telling you they're not true isn't enough.
No.
And people often think there's a quick fix, and you'll read books and go, "Oh, just think this instead." And people go, "Yes." And then it doesn't change anything. So what you have to do is go digging quite deep into where these have come from, what that must mean that you think about yourself. Is that true? And then start looking at whether that is, and if it's not, what else could be true, and really breaking down those beliefs and putting new ones in their places. And then practice, because it's, I don't know if anyone's read the chimp paradox or anything about how the brain works. If you haven't, I highly recommend it. But Professor Stephen Peters talks about, the monkey brain, the chimp, and it really is naughty.
Right.
This emotional center, it plays havoc with you, even though your rational brain's going, "Pull yourself together, you'll be fine." It's going, "No, you won't. You're going to just freeze." And guess what? You freeze. So you create these, more beliefs it's going to happen. So learning to control that little chimp is a really wonderful thing to be able to do.
Well, I'm definitely going to get myself a copy of that book, and going through some of sort of like some sort of mini coaching in sort of like some of these cohorts and mentoring. I think that definitely did help me, and learning how to get out of my own head and not have those sort of like fears that implode you when you start worrying about imposter syndrome. And as you're speaking, I'm thinking about all of the women that speak to me about that reoccurring imposter syndrome that you spoke about your client. And you said that there was a way to reset your mind and your thinking. It'd be really good if you could tell us a little bit more about that, the things that you do as part of, maybe some of the things that you do, some of your secret sauce.
Well,
golden nuggets.
Yeah. So this I would love to. So I am now writing a book on this as well. So the book will come out in September. And this book is all about the 5 steps that I use to help my clients. And it wasn't until I'd done it over and over again that I even realized that there were 5 steps. So writing the book's been really helpful to consolidate what I do, so I can easily explain to people that this isn't magic. It isn't like I don't come into your mind and go, "Ooh, everything's going to change." And there's real hard work to be done. And the 5 steps very simply are: you have to evaluate what's going on. So a bit like I was saying to you, do you remember what triggered you? And then we dig into that and actually, where's that coming from? Where else has that been showing up in your life? Because it isn't just that one event that it'll have happened in. It will have been elsewhere. And then you can see more examples of when you're triggered like that. It really shows you then what you think about yourself. And that's the bit we need to deal with. The next bit is go a little bit further, is analysing not just is it impacting you and how much, but who else is it impacting? And I told a story to a group yesterday about something had happened to my daughter a couple of weeks ago, which was really upsetting.
Yes.
And my emotional self-control was gone. You just don't mess with children, do you? So my emotional self-control was gone. And the poor lady in Greggs who tried to serve me a cup of tea just after I'd found out some news I didn't want to hear, really got it between the eyes, because she was rude to me. She was clearly having a bad day. I was having a bad day. So even just that little, that effect of not being able to control yourself and know what your triggers are upsets other people. So that's, those are the first 2 steps: evaluate what's going on and then start to analyze. The other thing to think about is, how is it impacting you mentally, physically, and financially? And the reason we do this is that if we're not giving our brain a really good reason to change, we haven't really seen how bad this is for us, your brain will just go, "No thanks, I'll just carry on. I've got to give it a really good reason." So somebody was explaining to me the other day that they'd started to get, it wasn't psoriasis, dermatitis.
Right.
They were so stressed and they couldn't control it. And they said they couldn't change what was happening. They could, we dealt with that. But their skin reacted. They weren't sleeping. So financially, it wasn't making any difference to them at all, but it could do, because if this person got too ill, he could lose his job and then he wouldn't have any money. So when you start to see it like that, you kind of wake up and go, hold on, this isn't a game. This imposter syndrome or self-limiting beliefs, it's not a joke. This isn't a pretend thing. Actually, it's going to impact my life. And then the other impact is, what's it stopping you from doing? Where's it stopping you from going? People will say things like, well, I need to be seen and people need to know what I'm doing. And I say, have you been on LinkedIn? And they'll go, oh, no. I'm not going to put a post on LinkedIn. And you're like,
why not?
Why not? How are we supposed to know you exist if you don't go on LinkedIn? One of the best business networking things you can ever go on.
I have those questions all the time. I'm like, but why wouldn't you? You're doing all of these amazing things, and LinkedIn is for that platform. And it's a little bit between imposter syndrome and then, you're always waiting for there's the other thing that you're doing. It's called procrastination.
Yes.
Procrastination. It's like procrastination and imposter syndrome are such dream killers, because
Completely.
the 2 of them together, if you have 2 of them, it's like you're never going to move. And as you were speaking, Sarah, I am so inspired, because it sounds so simple, those 5 steps, but they are the actual secret sauce to actually moving forward. And it's life changing, isn't it?
Completely life changing. I mean, it's changed my life by being able to do this. You know, I've only really taken you through the first couple. You know, the next step is around what do you want instead, and then it's about learning and keeping you going. But this thing about the secret sauce is trying to do it on your own is almost impossible.
Right.
Trying to do it with someone who doesn't know much about it might help you a bit. Trying to do it with somebody who really knows what's going on and can catch you every time you fall and start procrastinating, because procrastination and imposter syndrome go hand in hand all the time. We have a mutual friend, I won't mention her name, but the most recent reason she wasn't going on LinkedIn was because she had to tidy her loft. Now, she didn't have to tidy her loft then. She could have chosen to do something else instead, but it's procrastination. And when you start recognizing it, and you know someone is watching you all the time,
Yeah.
and is going to pick you up like that when it happens, it's really very difficult to carry on.
Is that what they call an accountability partner?
Absolutely. It's accountability. And if you do this in groups as well, it's brilliant, because it's not just me that picks it up then, it's other people. You start to, because it's easier, isn't it, to recognize it in someone else and go, you're doing that thing again, than it is to recognize it in yourself.
This is so interesting. And I think this is actually like a coaching session in itself that I'll be playing and replaying and replaying, even back to myself after
You're
today.
welcome.